Hello children. In this video lecture, I will explain you chapter 1 of movements. Our first chapter of movements is The Lost Child, written by Mulk Raj Anand. Let's take a quick view about our author. Mulk Raj Anand was born on 12th December 1905 in Peshawar and died on 20th September 2004 in Pune. He was a prominent Indian author of novels, short stories, and critical essays in English. He is known for his realistic and sympathetic portrayal of the poor in India. He is considered a founder of the English language Indian novel. He became known for his novels like Untouchable, Coolie, and The Two Heavens and a Bird. He is also noted for being among the first writers to incorporate Punjabi and Hindustani idioms into English. He was a recipient of the civilian honor of the Padma Bhushan. Let's take a look about the chapter. In the story, The Lost Child, the author tried to explore the mind of a child. This story also highlighted a child's love for his parents. The child went to a fair with his parents. The child was very happy and excited and wanted everything from the fair. He wanted sweets and toys displayed in the shops. His parents did not buy for him, but very soon he had been separated from his parents as he was left behind looking at various toys and other things. When he realized that his parents were nowhere near him, he started crying miserably. He was picked up by the stranger. The stranger tried to quiet the child by offering him all the things that he had demanded from his parents, but the child did not want them anymore. He only wanted his parents and kept crying. Children, The Lost Child is a universal story written in the view of Indian village life. Probably such children and such parents exist in every country and in every society. The most peculiar thing about the story is that throughout the narration, the child and parents are not given any names. The story is narrated in the third person. Here, the child is the representative of universal childhood, and the parents are the true advocates of universal fatherhood, disciplining the child under tight attentiveness. But despite of all checks and restriction, nothing is of greater importance in the life than the bond of true relationship between a child and his parents. The Lost Child is all about the thrilling as well as frightful experience of a small child who accompanies his parents to a village fair on the occasion of spring festival. Now, I will brief you about main characters of the chapter. The Lost Child, he is the central character who gets fascinated with the items at the village spring fair and loses contact with his parents. He becomes heartbroken, loses interest in everything and cries for his parents. Second, the parents, they keep on asking the child to remain with them but are careless enough to lose him at the fair. And third is the person who found him. He is a very helpful person who tries to distract the child by offering him many things but fails. The child goes to a fair with his parents. He is happy and excited and wants the sweets and toys and displayed there. But his parents don't buy them for him. Why? Then does he refuse when someone else offers them to him? To know more about it in detail, I will start my explanation here. Children, here I have given a text for your reference. So you can read text, and immediately after of the same passage I have given a summary. So let's start understanding of the summary paragraph wise. The story was set in the spring season. As the winter season had just ended, all the people came out of their houses. Everyone was in a happy mood and they were going to the fair. People conveyed through different modes: foot, horses, bamboo carts, and bullock carts. A child was going to fair with his parents. He was very happy and excited. He banged into his father's legs. On the way to the fair, the child enjoyed every moment and got fascinated and attracted towards natural beauty. In the fair, the child was attracted towards the toys which were displayed at the various stalls. As he was left behind, his parents called him to come with them. The chapter begins with the notification of spring season. Spring season means the season of new gaiety. When the weather becomes warmer and leaves, plants starts to grow again. The same excitement we could see in human who were going to the fair, and the author mentioned here the same gaiety of nature in the little child who got excited and extremely happy accompanying his parents on the way to the fair. The child is very much excited and curious to experience the outside world. As the fair began, it was natural for any child who could not control his emotions and easily got fascinated towards the gaiety and spectacular sceneries of the fair. As the child entered the fair, on the way he got attracted and tempted towards the toys. It is natural for any child. The obedient child hurriedly reached to his parents, where they were waiting for him. Even though he had kept his eyes at the toys which he wanted, as he reached them, he could not control his desire to buy a toy. He already knew the familiar and cold reaction of his parents. He even knew that they would stare at him, indicating denial to buy him the toy. Though he was unable to control his desire any longer, he proposed and pleaded that he wanted to buy the toy. To his plea, his father got angry and looked at him with anger to oppress his wish. But the mother became emotional due to the cheerful mood and gave her finger to the child to hold and guided him to a place. She asked him to see what was in front of him. The child already knew his parents' nature, though he pleaded to his parents for the toy. He knew that his plea would be rejected cold-heartedly. This shows us a hope in the child's eye. May he be able to fulfill his wish for the wonderful toys which he wished to own for so long. We could see opposite way to tackle the child. Father showed his anger here, but the mother was trying to tackle the situation with a tender love and tried to continue in a happy and cheerful mood for the enjoyment and cheerfulness of the family. In the front of them, there was a large, bright yellow colored mustard flowers field, which stretched like a rippling yellow river. A group of dragonflies, black bees, and butterflies buzzed around, sucking the nectar from the flowers. The child's joy knew no bounds. He left the footpath and entered into the mustard field and began to chase some dragonflies and a black bee or a butterfly. He tried to catch one of them, but he was called by his mother to come back to the footpath. The child ran towards his parents. He walked next to them, but after few steps, he stopped to see insects who were coming out of the soil. Once again, the child was left behind. The child was disheartened by his father's behavior, but very soon he overcame from his disappointment. His eyes were mesmerized and fascinated when he saw the scenic beauty of the flowering mustard fields. They were twinkling like the stars and rippling like a wave of a river with the blow of a wind. The bustling dragonflies with their fine and delicate purple wings stole his heart. The world of butterflies, beehives, and small insects aroused his curiosity for the main elements. He ran like empty-headed person to catch them, but his mother cautiously warning him and stopped him from getting that pleasure and enjoyment out of it. For a moment he was again with his parents, but as soon as he saw the small insects, tiny beings coming out of the hole from the earth to enjoy the sunshine, he got again fascinated and he was keenly, sharply observing that tiny ones. And again he was left behind from his parents because he was enjoying nature. Again his parents gave him reminder call to join them. They both had taken shelter under the shade of a banyan tree on the edge of a well. They called their son to come to them. The child was mesmerized and fascinated by the sight when he again joined his parents. As he entered the shady forest area, he was welcomed by a shower of flowers. He forgot about his parents and started collecting raining petals in his hands. At that moment, he heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents. After hearing the cooing, he got very much excited and started chasing the bird with screaming and calling the bird by its name. The dove, the dove. In his excitement, he even forgot about the raining petals which he had collected in his hands. So the petals fell on the ground. He started to chase the newly found captivating sight. Now the child had gone behind the banyan tree. Several wild flowers had grown there. He was called once again by his parents, who had started to walk further. But the child was in his own world, who was uncontrollably running and playing around the banyan tree. His parents had lifted him and took the narrow, windy footpath which was heading towards the fair, passing through the mustard field. The child was experiencing new things now and then, and got easily fascinated by the sight and lost himself in the view. This is common behavior of children. Always any child lost in that world which he experienced first time. Here repeated reminder to join the parents showed us that parents too are busy in their world, and they too in meantime recalled their child and made him join the way to the fair. The cool shade of banyan tree, shower of petals, the cooing of sounds of dove, all attracted the child and he lost in that world. When he was engrossed, deeply enjoying this world, and was taking round around the tree at the same time his parents took charge of him and moved ahead towards the fair. When they reached closer to the village of the fair, the child saw many footpaths leading to the fair. Each footpath was full of crowd moving towards the fair. There was huge movement of people. The dense crowd afraid him, and he stepped back for a while. But the next moment, he got attracted towards such a big gathering of people. Because of large crowd, there were many confusions in the fair. The child, at the same time, with confusion and uncontrollable excitement, entered in the fair. At the entrance of the fair, a sweet seller was shouting names of various sweets like burfi, gulab jamun, jalebi, rasgulla, etc., available at his shop. A big crowd had already gathered in front of his shop. He had nicely arranged and decorated the sweets with leaves of golden and silver color at his counter. The boy's mouth watered when he had seen his favorite burfi. He expressed his wish to get one in a very low voice because he knew that his request would be refused by his parents. His parents would tell that he was greedy, so he did not wait for an answer from his parents and kept on moving. We can see here the enthusiasm and encouragement amongst the village people for the fair. The huge crowd moving towards fair through various footpaths shows us that during that time it was the only means of enjoyment for them. And because of that only we could see this much of momentum of people. The child got attracted when he saw crowd, so many people all together. This shows us as the child might be first time experience the outer world. He was first time moving out of his house with his parents. When the child got attracted towards fine decorated sweets, especially he tempted for burfi, here the author told us the child only whispered his wish. Here he knew very well that his parents would not approve his demand and counted him greedy because now and then, whatever he was experiencing, he was demanding for the same. This shows us now the child has become aware of his parents' nature, and in low voice only he muttered, mumbled his wish. The next stall was that of a flower seller. The seller was shouting to sell Gulmohar flowers and garlands made of these flowers. The child could not control himself and he was attracted to the shop. He went towards the basket where flowers were kept. He wanted one of those. He announced his wish to have one in a low voice because he again knew that his demand would not be fulfilled. They would say that it was not a good garland. He did not wait for any answer from his parents and he kept on walking. The next the child came across was a balloon man. He was standing near a flower seller holding a pole of various colors, balloons. They looked like a rainbow. The child was attracted towards balloons. He wanted to have them all. He was sure that his parents would not buy the balloons for him. They would tell him that he was too old to play with them. So he continued to walk away from those balloons too. Now, one after another, fascinating things came across the child. After sweet seller, next to him was flower seller. The smell of gurmohar flowers and attractive garlands aroused a wish in a child at least to have one. But now he was so much aware of his parents. So he whispered his wishes or desire to purchase flower only audible to him. He can listen only. In that voice, he spoke his wish. Same happened when he saw Balloon Man. He could not speak loudly to have all the colors of balloons. Again, his wishes were told by him in a very low voice. This shows us the financial condition of the family. From the very beginning of the chapter, his parents are giving him one or the other reason for not having the things. It could be the reason they were not able to afford it. They maybe belongs to a poor family of a village who used to work as a daily wage laborers or having occupation which was not able to provide them enough money for the family. Even they too have a desire to enjoy the fair. So they were there to enjoy and experience it without having or purchasing the things. So they were saying no or giving one or the other reason to the child, whatever he was demanding. Then he saw a snake charmer who was playing flute and the snake was twisting its neck to the music. The snake had coiled itself in a basket and had raised its head out gracefully like a swan. It seemed that music went into its invisible ears like a waterfall because it moved its neck in a similar way. The boy approached towards the snake charmer but suddenly remembered that his parents would not allow him to hear such unpleasant music played by the snake charmer. So he moved ahead from that place too. The greatest attraction for the child was standing just next to the previous one. It was a roundabout in full swing. He watched it going round and round with a merry band of men, women, and children on it. All were enjoying and screaming in a roundabout with light-headed laughter. The child was looking at them keenly and he was not able to suppress his desire to enjoy the ride. As soon as roundabout stopped, he boldly requested his parents for the pleasure of the ride on the roundabout. Now, here again, the flute of a snake charmer had attracted the boy. The boy has imagined a swan and a rippling waterfall. In snake's movements, he wished to see the show from very near, but knowing his parents very well, he suppressed his desire and moved ahead towards the roundabout. When he saw men, women, children, all are shouting, screaming with enjoyment while taking right on roundabout at that moment, he was not able to control his desire and requested his parents for the ride. When his parents did not reply, he turned around to look for his parents. He searched for his parents everywhere. He looked at his right, left, in front of him, and behind him, but his parents were nowhere to be seen. The boy cried loudly and pulled his body. He ran here and there, calling out for his parents. He was full of fear and burst into tears. Hot and fast tears started rolling down his eyes. He ran in all directions and did not know where to go. As he sobbed and ran around, his turban opened and his clothes became muddy. At last, he felt defeated. His loud cries changed into sobbing. He saw many people standing and talking. He tried to find his parents among them. The laughter and talks of the people had become meaningless for the child. When the child turned around, there was no response from either of the parents. They were not there. This shows irresponsible side of the parents. As they were in what kind of hurry? Though they have not taken care of this child. And even the child is careless too. He got fascinated by one or the other thing, and in that he forgot about his parents. The child searched for the parents everywhere, even in a crowded place like temple. He shouted their names repeatedly with sobbing, crying, but he was not able to find them back. Here the carelessness of crowd or people we could see too. The child is screaming, shouting. He's bitterly crying his parents' name. Though the people in the temple, they were busy with their things and they even did not bother to look at the child. The child was crushed and pushed among them, though they did not care for that. He again quickly ran towards the temple. The temple was overcrowded with people. He ran between the legs of the people. Calling out his parents' name, he was sobbing bitterly near the entrance of the temple. There were so many people who pushed each other. The boy got scared of these big people. Their eyes were shining and they looked angry. They pushed this little boy with their strong and big shoulders. The poor child was struggling hard to push himself through the legs of people, but he could not resist again their force, and people crushed him under their feet. Though he shouted in his loudest voice for his parents. In this increasing crowd, a man heard the cries of the child. He bent low and with great difficulty lifted the child in his arms. As soon as the man lifted the boy, he started to move away from the crowd. He asked the little boy about his parents and their names. The child started crying more loudly. The only thing he said was that he wanted to meet his parents. The man tried to make him relax by taking him to the roundabout. The man gently asked the child if he would like to have a ride on the horse of the roundabout. The child again started crying loudly and shouted that he wanted to meet his parents. The crowd crushed the child and hit the child with their large bodies. Even the people with heavy bodies scared the boy with their eyes. But all are not same here. One kind man lifted the child in his hands and asked for his parents and tried to give comfort the child who was crying bitterly. He first of all passed the crowd and took the child to the comfortable place. He inquired about his parents and offered him a ride on roundabout, but the child constantly demanding to meet his parents. We can see here that everyone are not same. Kindness is still kindness is still in this world. The author has showed that same kindness through this man who tried to give console the child and tried to give comfort the child and asking for the things which give any child an enjoyment. The man started walking back on the same route which the child had taken. He now came to the place where the snake charmer was still sitting and playing his flute. The man requested the child to listen to the music and to look at the cobra who was moving sideways. The child shut his ears with the fingers and shouted loudly that he wanted to meet his parents. Then the man took the child near the balloon man. He thought that attractive colorful balloons would divert attention of the child. He thought the child may be cheered by seeing these balloons, but the child had turned his eyes from the balloons. He continued to cry and told that he wanted to meet his parents. The man tried hard to make the child happy and took him to the flower cellar. The man told him that smell of those flowers was nice. The man asked the child if he wanted to put a garland around his neck. The child turned away from the basket of flowers and started crying. He said that he wanted to meet his parents. Finally, the man took him to the sweet seller and offered to buy sweets for him. The man asked the sweets he would like to eat, but the child did not look at the sweets and continued to cry bitterly. He only told that he wanted to meet his parents. The satire is here that when a person is in a comfortable condition, he would be able to accomplish all the desires of the life. And when he is not in a comfortable condition, the situations offered him all the desires which he would love to enjoy it. The man wished to give comfort the child, so he offered one by one the things which the child would love to enjoy it. He asked him to see the snake charmer, to have garland of gulmohar and all the colorful balloons. But every time the child denied, he said no and demanded only one thing, that he wanted to meet his parents. So the irony is here that when the child was in a happy mood and super excited for the fair with his parents, he got fascinated on the way to the fair, as well as in a fair by one or the other things. But his parents every time called him from that fascinating sight and said, "Come, child, come." It means they did not allow the child to enjoy the moment fullest by giving one or the other reason. And in the end, when the child lost his parents, he was offered by all the fascinating things which he would love to enjoy, but he was not in a mood to enjoy it at that moment. He wished to be, he demanded to be in the world's most comfortable place for any child, that he wanted his parents only. He was not interested in any joyful things. So the chapter ended here with the sad notes of the child, that he wanted to meet his parents. That thing only can give him comfort, and that is the most cozy place, most comfortable place for any child if they were with the parents. Children, here I have given you textual exercise, all the question answers which you have to write in your notebook. Learn well for your upcoming exams. Prepare it properly and write in a very legible handwriting. Do not write in a hurry, children. Keep your notebooks neat and clean. Children, you have to copy her meanings also, so you can understand the text very easily and you can remember your answers very well. So, children, lastly, I will say about this story. In this story, Mulk Raj Anand had showed us detail of the two worlds, that is the worlds within and the worlds without, means the inner world and the outer world. He is largely concerned about the loss and disappearance of childhood. He had showed the child was crying bitterly searching for his parents. He had not showed us that the parents were searching for the lost child. He had showed this adult world is alarming by ignorant and ill informed about how a child's mind works. Yet the child has a power, the incredible capacity for reading beauty. In Lost Child, the unnamed child, here the name is not mentioned, he is the universal child. Means he can be any of you, any of the child of this world who is fearful due to denial of freedom and absence of self determination, self confidence. He maybe not gathered the courage to find his parents alone, so he was crying bitterly. The author wishes here the voice of lost child to be heard and empowered too. Means we give the importance, the cries of this child. The world has to listen his cries. This is the message from the author to all of his readers. Children, write your question answers and meaning in fair book. Thank you.